Dealership scams. I mean, I just gotta say something. I worked at a dealership. I know how things go at a dealership. Can't say that I currently work at one because I don't. I own my own shop. But I want to share with you some things that I've been noticing. Because I get a lot of folks that they used to service their car at a dealership. They don't like how things are going. And they kind of start slowly bringing their cars out to the independent world. They'll come to our shop. They kind of share with us their experiences. And through it, I've been noticing a trend that I'd like to bring to your attention, and you really need to be aware of, because I'm seeing this a lot and a lot more. And if you pay attention, you're going to know it and catch them in it. And let's get started with the video. Folks, the biggest trend I'm seeing lately from dealerships is overcharging on parts. See, the dealership I used to work at, God bless them, great people, it was forbidden to overcharge customers. I mean, it was like a red line you do not want to cross, and people got fired for that. Lately, I've been seeing dealerships, like, customer will come in the shop, hey, let's establish service history for this car so we can advise you accordingly. Do we need this maintenance? When was it done? So we can kind of establish a pattern, put it in our system, so when they call us in the future, we can advise them accordingly. So folks will usually bring their receipts. You know, we look through them. I've made it a mission after I caught the first one to really look and see. And I've started telling folks, hey, by the way, they're overcharging you here, because that's the right thing. Here's the expectation when you go to a dealership. They're going to use original parts, everything. I think that's a fair expectation, which most of them do for most stuff, not everything. Talk about that. Then they have high level of quality. Their prices are very expensive. That's normally the case, but their quality is very high, or at least that's what you expect it to be. When there's a problem, they usually take care of it. As long as you know, we're not taking advantage of them, because you fixed your car, same problem happened again, you take it to the dealership, sorry, let us take care of it and make it right. That's the expectation. Nobody is perfect. Not me, not you, not anyone. Same thing with the dealership. They're just people like me and you trying to earn an honest God living. So, prices at dealerships. First, I have a fundamental problem with non-itemized estimates. We've talked about that in multiple videos, but I'm going to mention it real quick. You go get an estimate from a dealership. Don't accept just a number. Oh, the service cost this much. No, I need to understand where this price came from. What is labor? What is parts? What parts are involved? And everything itemized. Isn't that fair? I think that's fair. Here's the problem that I'm seeing. Dealerships will not give you that. They'll just write a number. Oh, water pump. For example, today, as I filmed this video, I had this conversation with a gentleman. They replaced their water pump. Of course, there's a coolant hose that is leaking that they took out. Not a big issue. Things happen. I told them just take it back to them, see what they say. They'll probably make it right. Local dealerships around here. So I noticed water pump prices. As of the day to film in this video, water pump is around $193 for, I think it was a Highlander. I look at the receipt, $212. That is not MSRP. I mean, at our shop, I sell parts at MSRP. Obviously, there's a markup because we got to cover. Actually, did you know that as an automotive shop, when we buy a part from a dealership, which we use all original parts in our shop, I cover the cost of the warranty for labor. They only will, if there's a, let's say you put brakes on a car that starts squeaking, well, let's warranty the brakes. I'm putting these brakes for free. Nobody's paying me labor. They just give me the parts. So obviously there's markups, and that's business. We got bills to pay in the building that's to pay itself. That's normal. But don't overdo it, because here's the problem when the dealership charges you over MSRP on parts and you don't even notice, because you don't get that itemized kind of, not estimate, but you don't get that itemized job until you pay for the job. That's wrong, folks, and I see this a lot. In this case, at $193, the dealership's already making a markup, and a pretty healthy one. Obviously, it's a big establishment. They got bills to pay and people to pay, and I get that. But on top of that, you are charging more for it. There is something super wrong with that. First, we were overcharging. Apparently some dealerships are still doing this. We're overcharging for cars to buy them, which is super wrong. And now we're overcharging for parts. That's a huge problem. And you know what the biggest problem is? And this is what just, I don't understand it. That same car, the example I'm using for today, they did a brake flush, which I really don't like that word, but okay, they replaced the brake fluid, which they did. I tested the brake fluid, so the car was in for an inspection. Test the brake fluid, is perfect. Brand new fluid. Great, they did the fluid. But then I go look at the estimate. The brake fluid they use is aftermarket. You can tell by the part number, which is fine. But here's the mystifying part to me. Brake fluid, as the data film in this video, is around $8 a bottle. Toyota brake fluid, that's what we use in the shop. I usually use 2 bottles in a brake fluid replacement. That's more than sufficient to replace the entire system. So let's do some basic math. $8 times 2, that's $16 plus tax, whatever. Here's the interesting part. The dealership charged the customer $39.95 for 1 bottle of unknown brand brake fluid. Wait a second. So you're not only not using the original brake fluid, you're charging more for the aftermarket one. I don't get it. Look, and some folks will say, well, the Toyota brake fluid really is not made by Toyota. Sure, that's correct, but it's made to Toyota specifications. But it's cheaper. I don't care what specification. It's cheaper. So why don't we just use the original one? Then coolant. They did the water pump. Coolant was not original Toyota coolant. It was Valvoline. Nothing wrong with that, Z-Rex or something called like that. Actually, there's a local dealership around here. They don't use the Toyota coolant, they use Z-Rex. Probably good coolant. I don't really use it, so I don't know about it because we use Toyota coolant. I mean, why are we using aftermarket coolant at a dealership? Here's the interesting part. So the dealership we deal with right now is the second dealership that we started buying parts from. We used to deal with another dealership that they didn't have coolant in stock. They just didn't have coolant in stock. They only dealt with another Valvoline or somebody else. There's nothing wrong with that, but you're the dealership. You should use original fluid. Heads up on that, no dealership usually uses original fluids. Not the engine oil, not the coolant. Not the coolant, some of them do, because the dealership I worked at used to use that. Not the brake fluid, not much else. That's a big problem. And what makes it even worse is when they charge you more for it. I mean, I look at oil prices. That same gentleman, I looked at some of his oil changes. Oil cost more than Toyota oil. I don't think they're using Mobil 1, let's just put it this way, which is more expensive. I get it, but do you see the problem? That is a huge problem. That is like a fundamentally wrong practice. Just, folks, you gotta be careful. You go to a dealership, good dealerships will not play these games. Good dealerships, if you ask them for an itemized estimate, they will provide it because they're not trying to hide anything. Well, here's the estimate. If you'd like to see it, here you go. Go home, think about it, let us know when you're ready to do anything or if you ever want to do anything. That's the fair thing. Here's something. I opened my shop, with a kind of an idea. I wanted to change the automotive industry, flat out. And some folks told me I'm crazy. That's okay, I could be. Let's not sell work. I don't have service advisors in my shop, and a lot of folks tell me that is too much work for you. Yes, because I just don't think that is a good idea. Because a service advisor's job is to advise the customer and sell work. I don't sell work here. I tell you what your car needs, what is a priority, what is a safety concern, lay everything on the table, and answer any questions you have, and have a nice day. If you want to do it, absolutely. We'll take care of any car, Toyota, Lexus needs that you have. If you don't want to take care of it, it's too much. Perfect. Do you have any other questions? Just keep it simple. Why are we trying to push people to buy stuff? And then this was just like the pinnacle. That's when I just stopped and told the customer, cannot sleep my night tonight if I don't tell you that this is very wrong. They sold the customer an EFI tank additive for $39 something at the $39.99, whatever the case may be, because during our inspection we found heavy carbon buildup on the pistons, the valves, and the tips of the injectors. I asked the customer, what were you in for when they sold you that? Because he actually bought it. In his mind, he's taking care of his car. He doesn't want problems. What were you doing when they sold you that? Oh, it's just an oil change. So wait a second. Oil changes for Toyotas, they pay, I'm just going to we'll get a little bit into the details of it. They pay anywhere from 2/10 of an hour to 3/10 of an hour. Just depends on the place. So you're telling me that the junior technician who usually takes care of oil change in a dealership, nothing against them, but they are junior technicians, they're just starting out in the field, whatever the case may be, pulled this car in to do an oil change, pulled the spark plugs out, put a sporoscope in it. In case this was a Highlander 2GR, so it has a V6, the back cylinders are covered by the plenum. So you're telling me, Mr. Dealership, that this junior technician pulled the car in, did the oil change, did the multi-point inspection, which we're going to talk about, pulled the spark plug, pulled the plenum out, pulled the spark plugs out, put a camera inside the engine, looked at the pistons, looked at the valves, then sending the camera through the intake manifold, looked at the tips of the injectors, and verified, yes, we have heavy carbon buildup. Put it all back together, do the oil change, let the advisor know, tell the customer we have to save the car in 15 minutes? Yeah. Folks, that right there tells me the mortgage is due, or the end of the month is coming and we have to make our commission, our bonus on the commission. That's very wrong. That's how dealerships lose their reputation. When they're seeing a customer that is willing to take care of their car and they take advantage of that. That's wrong. Folks, that is so wrong. And let me tell you one thing, how the automotive industry have gotten themselves into this. Oh, we're going to do a free alignment check. We're going to do free this, free that, free this. Let me tell you one thing. Nothing is free in life but the love of the Lord. Flat out. That's the truth, folks. Sometimes it hurts, but that's the truth. Nothing is free. Why are you doing a free alignment? I mean, do you know how much this equipment costs? An alignment machine is a ridiculous investment. I'm still paying for my alignment machine and it hurts. Nothing is, why am I going to spend all this money to do a free alignment? That's not the intent, folks. The intent is so we can sell as many alignments as we can. Oh, a free multi-point inspection. Let me tell you what that means. That means you're getting nothing inspected. Do you know what the #1 complaint at the dealership was where I worked? And this is something that got folks in trouble over and over and over, and folks got fired. You get a car, the brakes are at 8 millimeters, they're green. Great, beautiful. 5,000 miles later, next oil change, your brakes are dangerous. They're 1 millimeter, they're red, you need to replace them right away. Some customers are like, wait a second. I was there last time. You all told me my brakes were perfect. In 5,000 miles, now they're dangerous and they're down to nothing? That's how folks got in trouble at the dealership where I worked. Because if you don't check stuff and you just go over that multi-point inspection, oh good, just get it out of here. That's a problem. But you know what the problem is? That it's not the technician. I'm just flat out say it. It's not the technician. It's the ways that the automotive industry is going. Why are we doing a multi-point inspection for free? Isn't that time spent to look over the car? A proper trained professional, a master technician, looking over your car, making sure it is safe. Isn't that something we'd like to pay for, or are we expecting this person to work for free? Would you like to work for free? I don't. I have a family, I have bills, we all do. That's the problem. I understand that we're going to do a kind of, while we have the car in the air, oil is draining, let's take a peek at the brakes real quick. Let's take a peek at the tires. Let's check the tire pressures. Do a quick glance. But we're not going to put it on an inspection paper, because then that the owner of the car, if they're not into cars, not into their car, they're going to take that as the professionals said this, that everything is great. What if that person takes a trip and their brakes are unsafe because the technician were not paid or not trained properly to really look at the brakes because they're just doing an oil change and something happens? That's a disaster, folks. But on the same side that the automotive industry did this, some folks will expect that. I see folks here all the time. Oh, I'm in for an oil change. Are you guys going to hook up a scan tool, check everything, and do that multi-point inspection? Like, no, we're not going to do that. Well, what do you mean? Dealership does that. Like, no, they don't. They just give you a paper. And I don't blame them. Would you like to work for free? Folks, it goes both ways. Do not count on the multi-point inspection of a dealership if you did not pay for it. But on the flip side, and I see this problem too, you pay for an inspection at a dealership and they miss everything. I've had recently a Tacoma that came in here. Customer did a pre-purchase inspection at a dealership, at a very reputable one. They went to buy the car from out of town. Very reputable dealership. Did a pre-purchase inspection. They charged them $205, which is just beyond me how the labor rates has gotten this high, but that's an hour of labor, by the way. Car checks out. Perfect. Perfect. That's what they told them. Okay. Customer brought their car here. First oil change came up. He actually requested another paid inspection. Okay. Because he asked, would you guys check cars when you do an oil change? I'm like, we're going to do a very basic safety inspection, brakes, tires, something obvious sticking out, but we're not going to go in depth. Okay, that's fair. I want a paid inspection, kind of a post-purchase inspection, which I really dislike this bad idea, but he did a pre-purchase inspection. Get the car in. For lack of a better word, it's a disaster. Head gasket is leaking, external leak. Front timing cover is leaking. Brakes are 2 millimeters in the front. Rear drums are way out of adjustment, and the rear axle seals are leaking, and the list keeps going on and on and on. I asked the customer, where is the multi-point inspection from the dealership? Sure. Pulls the multi-point inspection. All green. Everything is green. No measurements, no nothing. All green. I don't like multi-point inspections, folks. It's a disaster waiting to happen. Actually, don't do them here. I look at your car. Whatever I see wrong, I'm going to write it down and tell you about it. Not a multi-point inspection. Because they're one size fits all, and they usually miss half the stuff if you really follow the multi-point inspection. Folks, be careful. And I'm just going to say this out there. I work at a dealership, and I work with some of the finest people I've ever met in my life. They're honest, hardworking, they do the right thing. I was privileged that I worked at a dealership that they woke up in the morning trying to do the right thing. However, there are some dealerships out there that they're getting super creative. How do we scam our customers? And they're getting a bad reputation, and they're always slow, and they have problems, and they don't have work. They wonder why. I don't. Because of your ways. You're not taking care of your people. You're overcharging them. You're trying to take advantage of them. Of course. They're going to eventually, every bad deed you do, eventually will catch up to you. That's just how it is. Put good in the world, you get good back. Put bad, you get bad back, eventually. That's why. So folks, be aware of these ways of the dealerships, because I'm seeing a lot of this, and it's not right, but unfortunately, that's the world we live in, so be aware. Folks, I hope this video was helpful and informative. I hope you learned something new. If you like it, consider giving it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing to the channel. Check out some other videos. Until the next video, folks, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and you have yourself a wonderful day.